North American organizations have had in League of Legends, the players probably shouldn't be paid as much compared to the Korean or the European players because they've had a much better time performing when it counts. But this is just the economic situation in America. There's just more money here. All the sponsors are here. All the VCs are here. All the money
that's why I'm
flows to
saying
America.
there's an opportunity for the NA scene to be significantly more competitive because there's so much more money. Because the way I see it, correct me if I'm wrong. Like I said, I'm very uninitiated on this stuff, but the championships, whether it be the VCT or LCS, like these are just the marketing arm of Riot. Like they see this as a way to market their product to a broader audience, right? So that they come in, they play, they gamble, they get invested, they put thousands of hours into this fucking game, constantly wanting to kill themselves as they play the fucking game, and they buy all the skins, and they dump a shitload of money into these fucking skins, which are not actually giving them any sort of competitive advantage, even though you still keep buying them over and over again. Gamble is in gamble with your life. Sorry, chatters. I didn't mean like literally gamble like CSGO skins. I meant like CSGO crates. I meant, just lose yourself in the game. Okay, and it's very profitable. It's a very profitable venture, but it's for marketing, right?
Yes, historically, like all of the esports efforts for Riot and Activision Blizzard are done as a marketing arm. Like everything that is being done for the League of Legends historically in esports has been done for marketing because the game companies make all their money from the microtransactions, not from the sponsorships. However, in recent years, you've had Riot try to get LCS to be profitable. They have tried really, really hard to make the actual product itself be profitable and not tied to the transactions. And Activision Blizzard fucked all of this up by basically lying to everybody and telling everyone that Overwatch League was going to be this enormous, gigantic hit and that Call of Duty League was going to be bigger than the NBA or whatever. Activision Blizzard, out of all of the different companies, definitely sold the fakest bullshit to everybody to get everyone to run from everything. So Riot, considering Activision Blizzard went so far to fuck everything up, Riot's been pretty good comparatively. However, esports has still been basically a marketing arm for microtransactions. But they are trying to get LCS specifically to be profitable. And Activision Blizzard tried to get the Overwatch League and Call of Duty League itself to be profitable, but that has been a complete disaster, especially the Overwatch League, which has completely fallen on the wayside because Overwatch itself as a game has been completely mismanaged from top to bottom, and Overwatch 2 is a complete fuck up too. So the game itself is not, that's what caused that. That's actually the biggest issue in all this. League of Legends and the LCS is not doing well because League of Legends is having a tough time as a game here in North America. The same thing with Overwatch League. Like for all the problems the Overwatch League itself has had, Overwatch not doing too well has cascaded a lot of the issues that Overwatch League has. Call of Duty
League has
actually,
because it has capital. There's capital flight. Is that what you're saying? Because Overwatch League being an abject failure, it turned investors off from investing in dumping unlimited amounts of funds into esports. Is that what you're saying? So people are just very, very scared.
Yes, I mean Overwatch League itself, because of Bobby Kotick was best friends with Robert Kraft and Kroenke and Wilpon. That's why they invested in the first place, because they're his boys, they're his buddies. All right, they're all going to, they're all on Epstein's flight list, all of them together. So he was able to get them to all invest into the league to begin with because they're friends. And now that everything is going really poorly, and he had the sexual misconduct allegations against him.
I just got to say something, okay? Everyone is reeling from the loss of a friend. Okay, Jeffrey Epstein's untimely death, which was ruled as a suicide, was hard on a lot of CEOs of major corporations. Okay, I just want to point that out.
Moment of silence.
Yeah, it's just a lot of people are still reeling from that. They lost their best friend, Elon Musk included. Okay, let's continue.
Elon, huge fan of Overwatch, by the way.
Yeah. So okay. So now Riot is saying that they're delaying if the players do not cave, like the Players Association does not cave to the Riot's lack of interest in dealing with them. Beyond the 2-week window, they are going to literally shelve the summer games. Is that what's going on? Like
Yes,
because they said that they're prepared to cancel the entire LCS summer season. Carrying this forward, if the LCS summer season is canceled, this will also eliminate LCS teams qualifying for 2023 Worlds. I want to be clear, that is not an outcome we'd want, but unfortunately the reality of ensuring we run a fair and competitive global system.
yes, that means no North American teams would be at Worlds. Also, the news about the scab players is true. In the last 2 days, the organizations and Riot have worked together to eliminate all of the previous rules of how like teams can sign players, and they are allowing organizations to sign any player. No rules. You can sign anybody, and they will pay the players $2,000 per game.
More than what they were paying the pros, from what I understand. Is that true?
If you total it up per game, it probably is more money than some of the minimum salary contracts that some players are making. Yes.
Love to have a leftist audience that doesn't even give a shit about video games all that much to only immediately be like, "Oh, it's time for me to fucking scab." Like it's let me scab. You a lot of you are bitches, okay?
Actually, the community has responded pretty well, and most of the players who have been approached by the organizations, even though like $2,000 per game would be a lot of money, and they would get the opportunity to play on stage, which they would never have gotten before. From what I understand, and people that I've spoken to, players and coaches, etc., most have turned it down. Almost everybody has turned down the organization's request to play, even with the opportunity and the money in front of them. So the players actually have been pretty good, united with the professional players in not taking the scab money and not crossing the picket line. But yeah, really, from Riot's statement today, I gauge that there is very little chance that Riot is going to relent here. Because of everything that I've said before, the Players Association, it's not like the MLB or NBA Players Association, which is a really strong union. Okay. It's not like the union for cops or whatever across the country, but they have like a really good deal, and they're able to push back against the owners in baseball or basketball to get what they want. The players in League of Legends really do not have a ton of leverage, considering everything that I mentioned before. And it really does not sound like Riot wants to give in to any of the demands that the LCSPA wants here. So
you don't think they're gonna do that? You don't think they're gonna give in to any of the demands?
I mean,
they're gonna let LCS, like they're gonna let the NA scene die and not compete in Worlds. I mean, I guess like if they're not even getting to it anyway, and it's a blip on their radar, it's one thing. But how does this impact the North American consumer market? I guess like
Riot
considering
is hoping to turn the community on their side. Riot is really hoping with this statement to get the community to flip from being against Riot and on the side of the players to being more on their side and looking at the economic situation, and to try to force the players back into playing. That is my reading of what they're trying to do here. They're trying to manipulate the community. They're trying to manipulate the situation to bring more people that are going to align with them to get a soft pushback so this scenario doesn't happen, and that NA teams are still going to play at Worlds. I could see the second half of the season being canceled as much more likely than NA teams do not show up at Worlds, because Riot does need the NA teams at Worlds to get the maximum amount of viewership, to get the maximum amount of engagement, and to sell like the sponsors on everything, because Worlds is a huge in-person endeavor that is costing Riot tens of millions of dollars of flying teams and coaches and players and talent all across the world and hosting venues and all that other stuff. Canceling the second half of the season is probably more doable and less of a financial loss from Riot. So I could see that scenario happening where the second half of the season is pushed back even further or canceled, but they are hoping to get as much of the public on their side so that the teams,
because they want the viewership. It seems like they want the NA viewership. They don't give a fuck about the NA players. And
Yeah.
if the NA viewership is also not interested in NA players, then they're fine. They got rid of a costly thorn on their side while simultaneously maintaining the audience that's going to allow them to keep selling sponsorships and make more money and ensure that this isn't a bigger financial hit. Rod, there's a Ellis CPA board members in the chat, and they're saying they want to join the call. Do you mind if I invite them?
Yeah, of course. Philip is the person in charge. He's done a great job
Are you
of
friends with
fighting
him
for
on
the players.
Discord? If you can invite him into the call, if you are. The fucking Players Association person in the chat keeps adding Fossabot. Don't do that. That's not going to get you any. I don't know why you're tagging Fossabot there. That's not very helpful for you. But I see you in the chat. Rod, do you know him or no? I mean,
Oh yeah,
are
yeah.
you friends with him
Yeah,
on Discord?
yes, but I don't. I'm getting his Discord now. I am friends with him, but I don't know. I'm getting his
Okay.
Discord.
If you can bring him into the call, that could be helpful. So yeah, Riot is saying first and foremost, we support players. We also support teams that we believe more than ever in the LCS. Yeah,
They're just hoping that the fans and that everyone in Twitch chat is fickle. All right, and that you guys out there will not give a shit who was playing on the stage. That you would rather root for 100 Thieves or Cloud9 or TSM and not care about who was actually playing. Riot is betting and hoping that is the case. Everyone out there that is listening, who is a League of Legends fan, or people out there and just League of Legends fans in general, have to hold firm and not watch, not tune in, not give Riot any engagement, not give Riot a reason to show the world that there is no reason to have the professional players on stage and that they could sign any replacements and have everything go fine.
Yeah, like what if they go to like the Chinese feeder leagues to just fucking stack their rosters full of players that are decent, the good? Is that a thing that these teams could do? The franchise teams could do right now, and like completely override the players association's demands?
I don't
Which, by
think
the
they
way, we
would.
didn't even talk about that. What's up with what are their demands exactly?
The Players Association.
Yeah.
I'm getting him right now. I will let him explain for you.
Riot has successfully architected a tier 2 ecosystem in other major regions, Europe, China, and Korea, and we want to do the same for North America. It will take some shifts and trade-offs to get there, so to help North America see and through this transition, we've decided to give our NACL partner Rally Cry an additional $300,000 in order to jumpstart the 2023 NACL season this week. This funding is an addition to the revenue share to the NACL teams we announced last week. Transitioning from the ineffective academy system to the new NACL model will be helped with this funding. Wait. Flash just left the call. Oh, wait, hold on. Here it is. Hello.
Hello.
We're joined by
Hasan,
Philip.
This is Philip.
Um,
He is the head of the LCSPA.
Nice to meet you, son.
what's going on? I'm looking at your asks of Riot. So what happened, Philip? Explain to me what's going on. Why are you upset
Why are we upset?
with Riot?
Not just me. I'm here to, the mouthpiece for the players in this situation. And, really the instigating incident here, I've worked for the PA and represented players for over 2 years. Every bit of our relationship with Riot has always been predicated on mutual respect and participation in the process. And up until about a month ago or a few weeks, time has turned into a blur recently. It's been a busy time, but until very recently, that's always been the case. Riot's always known that we communicate together about what's going on. We plan far in the future, and if we have things that red lines for each other about changes, we try and work them out, and we try and figure out solutions that everybody can be on board with. Similar to any group that's in kind of constant negotiations around how how a workplace or ecosystem can be. We're not unionized, but again, esports is a funny space. We're three parties, and really the developer owns everything, right? They own the football, so to say. And so we act as a lobbyist, same as anyone goes to Congress. I think my job is going to Riot. They're the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, and the president, and our job is to persuade them on on how to run the IP that they own, and that's always been really successful until very recently. When between splits, the decision was made without consultation or discussion with the PA to remove the requirement for LCS teams to field, as you mentioned, AAA baseball equivalent rosters, what we call the NACL. Uh, both sides knew that a decision like that overnight would cause the vast majority of organizations to pull out to reap some financial savings, and they did it in spite of our strong protests, and in our view, without proper prior consultation discussion about what would be necessary to make the ecosystem functional without a requirement like that in place. So that's what happened, and here we are.
Okay, so you want a Valorant style promotion and relegation between the LCS and NACL. You want Riot to commit to a revenue pool for player salaries of $300K per NACL team per year. You want to allow the LCS orgs to partner with affiliates or for cost sharing. You want Riot guarantees with LCS minimum contracts for the following year for the 5 players who win the LCS Summer Finals each year. And you want to institute a 3/5 roster continuity rule to provide players on released NACL rosters first priority in maintaining their slots in the upcoming NACL season if a majority continue to compete together. So what did they say to that?
I first off appreciate you reading all that. I'd say first and foremost, our asks to Riot are to make a system that makes sense. That's sort of the first and foremost. These points are, their asks, and they're also the start of a conversation about how do things we know would actually solve the problem. To what Riot has said to these, everyone can see Riot's public statement from tonight. What we care most about in that statement is that, and behind the scenes, we met with them before their public announcement tonight, and there was a commitment from them in the statement and behind the scenes to continued conversations and negotiations. We're going to be meeting with them tomorrow. I'm waiting on a time and checking my email to see when we're going to set up a time to talk. And I am going to say that my focus is making sure those negotiations are fruitful. Uh, we have long believed that it's about making sure the system makes sense. We've never claimed that the rule that required teams to field a third party or to field a AAA roster, the NACL, was a good rule, but it was the best solution to a bad system. Slashers talked a little bit about franchising and the issues that it creates in an ecosystem, and market inequalities. If you want to get all capitalist, it creates disincentives to be successful or competitively successful, and it disincentivizes developmental leagues unless you require the people who are staked in the game to participate. So that's what we're asking for. That's what especially bullets 1 and 2 are. It's saying, hey, we need to put a system in place that actually will encourage people to participate and ensure that North American talent pipeline doesn't dry up overnight. So that's the core of our asks.
Yeah. What do you? Why do you think they are behaving in this unresponsive way, and they're trying to implement the nuclear option of like even tanking the LCS in its entirety for this season?
That's a good question. We certainly don't agree with the manner in which they posted tonight. Our preference would have been to post about the positive things that we're both working towards, which is delaying the season to lower the temperature around the scab movement that was put into effect after we announced our walkout. Once we announced our walkout and teams started reaching out to scabs, we saw undue pressure and coercion from teams to try and make players disclose if they were walking out, to pressure them not to walk out. Some things that have been reported recently that we can't speak to details because of personal situations, but it has been a dangerous thing that Riot put in place. And we asked them to delay the season. We said lower the temperature so that we can meet and we can actually come to solutions, and we don't spend all of our time convincing Diamond 1 players not to take the stage in a sham fashion. So that was first and foremost. I think their statement today is overly aggressive and doesn't set the tone right for going into these negotiations. But at the end of the day, my job is to do the work and go and meet and get ourselves to a place where our players can feel comfortable about going forward and playing. We want to play, and we just got to see they're going to put us at the table, and they're going to actually listen to reason about what needs to happen for the scene to work, because the community is with us on this. They know that what's happening is not good for League of Legends globally or in North America.
Okay. All right, so how do we move forward here?
If you're in the public, I think your voices have been instrumental for us throughout this process. Solidarity has been huge. I mean, it's been incredibly humbling to see people who, again, I said Diamond One. I wasn't joking. I've had a Diamond One player reach out to me saying I was offered a job to go play as a scab, and yeah, Rob brought up you can make a lot of money to do that. And the fact that we're here, that they realized it was impossible to run a broadcast without player support, is huge, and part of that's the community. You taking and talking about this and talking about labor movements and the importance of worker solidarity is huge. We need more people to understand the importance of that. And yeah, there's a bullet at the end of this rainbow that says the league doesn't play if we don't come to an agreement in 2 weeks. And that's a serious thing to put at stake in a conversation. But it also speaks to the power of players and the power of employees writ large. If people stand up at the end of the day, like the means of labor are what create the product, and there's no esports without the players. And so I think that's what I see today, is that they realize that, and it might have taken them a few days to, but we just need the community to keep loud and keep on the riot about coming to real solutions. That's what matters. Like, if we're going to get this season going and we're going to get to Worlds, it's going to be because we work together, not because we stood up on Twitter and on posts and yelled at each other from afar. We got to get in the room and work.
So,
Given your understanding of the situation, what do you think the likelihood is that the season will be canceled?
Not going to comment on that at this time.
So, sorry, I'm getting some other questions on the side as well, but I guess like you already mentioned, it's the people watching have more power in this regard than in normal circumstances when there's like some kind of labor action. I mean, I guess like the alternative would be to try to fill the franchise slots with scab players, which has happened in the past, even in the NFL, where the player unions do have, I would say, a little bit more power than the LCSPA does over the NFL, where they like brought in scabs. And it's not like you guys have the capacity to go outside of the stadiums and like beat the shit out of the scabbing players. You know what I mean? Like which is what they did in the NFL at the time in Philadelphia, if I'm not mistaken. But no, literally, that is what happened back in the day, chat.
You.
It's a part of labor history. But regardless, so I mean, I don't know where like other than players engaging in this walkout. I don't know what other actions there could be. What is the funding? I mean, I guess like part of it is there a strike fund or some kind of funding mechanism to help out players throughout this time that are a part of the Players Association? Is there a structure resembling like normal North American unions? Or have you guys ever thought about partnering with the UAW or a larger union in North America like the Teamsters, which I'm sure would be perfectly willing and able to help out in situations like that? Is there any opinions on that? Because look, I don't really understand the league space at all. I play Valorant and I play it very poorly. I'm just simply talking about this or thinking about this from the perspective of like labor action in general.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that. A lot of my work in the last 2 weeks has been educating on the history of labor in America and how labor actions work. And I started off a call a day ago just explaining what a walkout versus strike versus lockout is. So I appreciate your voice in this and helping to bring education on this stuff to folks and just the importance of it. In terms of what we can do next, like first and foremost, like we have to keep up public pressure. You can't let the story die, and it's part of our job and it's part of the community's job to continue to make right understand that people want the LCS to happen and they want it to happen with the players that they know and love, and to come to the table and bargain in good faith. That's the first and foremost thing. We don't need a strike fund right now. Our players are still working. The walkout never actually started because Riot delayed the season, right? Our walkout was going to be the start of the season. We kind of obfuscated that, but of course we were going to walk out day one. That was when it was going to start. So right now players are, by all accounts, continuing to scrim and practice and train. So they're getting paychecks. Don't set up a bargain. Don't set up a fund for them today.
Yeah.
for unions, I would love to talk to IEW, Teamsters, anybody. We do have relationships, particularly through our friends and partners at One Team Partners with traditional sports unions. And those groups have been really helpful to us throughout this entire process, not just these weeks, but in the months and years behind, and helping to advise us on how to build our player power and how to kind of awaken the labor minds of our players. Obviously, it's been a big step for us and a scary one, but they've continued to support. And shout out especially to some folks who have spent time at the NFL PA, MLB PA, and MLS PA, and NWSL PA, and WNBA PA. All those groups have had people who have helped us along this way, and we're leaning on them right now to continue to give us aid. We're talking about all of our options up to unionization, but it is very complicated because we're in a three-party system, and it's not typical in labor for three parties to exist. Usually it's employer-employee, and we got employer-employee and developer. So it makes it more complicated in some really real and really scary ways. So right now, keep the volume up.
Okay. What are so this seems to be the main point of contention, but are there other issues that players are facing that the LCSPA has spoken out about beyond so like from what I understand, and again, my understanding is not great on this stuff, so it seems like one of the major issues is that the franchise teams did not want to continue having like a farm team, right? Like through this league. Yep. I don't know what the proper way to call it is, I guess. I
think it's a good, I use the AAA and MLB's description all the time. I think it's pretty effective.
So, and they basically did not tell you that they were going to stop implementing this. So I feel like part of it is also the franchise teams that are complaining about profits to Riot, which is then taking this action. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's always more devil in the details. We don't begrudge the teams for I understand how corporations work. You don't want something that's not pretty on the ROI, and farm systems look like loss leaders, but it's table stakes for being in the game. When they got franchised, it was partly you said you're going to get money from the developer to run your team, and you're going to get money from the developer to run your AAA team. So that was table stakes. And for the developer to just say overnight, well, I guess because you didn't spend our money well, now you don't have to operate one of those like core components of a healthy sports ecosystem, is just deeply problematic. And we've been talking with Riot. The idea of removing this requirement was not off the table, but we were talking about it for 2024. And the reality is pulling this rug from us in the middle of 2023 has caused real harm to players, meaningful harm. We lost at least 35 player jobs, probably more, plus coaches and supporting staff who all lost jobs as well. A lot of these players were here on visas and were in year-plus leases on their own that the teams made them sign. They had to break their leases, fly home to a region where they had lost residency from because many players from the Oceanic region had declared North American residency through a recent Riot decision. So they no longer have residency in their home country. So these people got sent home with a bill they couldn't afford and couldn't even play competitively. We had to spend half of our time fighting the decision itself and half the time helping them clean up the mess they made along the way. So that's the kind of situation we're looking at here, and why we have taken the stand we have, because it's been egregious harm to players. And that's, it's the how it's done as much as that it is done. We were down to have a conversation long term about how do we get away from this requirement. What does an ecosystem look like where you don't need to require teams to participate in order for people to want to participate? Again, that gets back to our asks. You put money on the table, like revenue on the table, to incentivize teams to participate, or you give them a pathway to the upper division. Those are the two proven methods. That's why they were on our list of 5 items. But we're down to talk. If Riot's got an idea that works that's different, we're down. We just don't believe what's been listed so far meets that criteria. And so that's why we want to talk. We want to meet and work out a real plan, because I know there are people at Riot who care. They give a shit, and somebody's sort of forced the hand here in a way that we just don't quite understand. And we're hopeful the next 15 days are going to lead us to some meaningful discussions and actually get some outcomes.
So I have another question about the team's involvement in this. Like the esports organizations Is it not true that they applied pressure to Riot to eliminate this, and then Riot responded? Not to like take away any of the responsibility off the hands of Riot, but is that not another avenue for negotiations to bring the the esports teams to the table as well?
They'll absolutely be a part of it. At the end of the day, Riot's the one who makes the call on this stuff, and they're the judge, jury, executioner. Teams, we have no love for the fact that they received more money in revenue from Riot this year than they spend on player compensation. So the idea out of the gate that they think they cannot afford to operate their teams is comical. Like they're operating with C-suites and finance people. They should be able to run a budget. It's just that simple, and they should be accountable for that. And they shouldn't be given bailouts in this way for not being responsible. So they're absolutely accountable, and they're a part of the conversation. But we look again to Riot because Riot had the choice. The teams voting means nothing. They're an advisory. They're in advisory capacity in the same way we are. Riot had 100% autonomy to make this decision. So, we look and understand that they're the power source, and so we're not going to put more energy than we must into a group that doesn't have real power in this situation.
So for the Players Association, what's the makeup of the Players Association? If you don't mind me asking, like, is it on the leadership side? I assume it's like democratically elected, yourself included. But are there like who is in the makeup of the board?
Yeah. So I'm not elected. I'm hired by the executive committee of players. So we have an executive committee of 5 players who are democratically elected by their peers, and we have a board of directors of 5 community members who have professional experience and background that help to advise and support the players pro bono. Really appreciate all of them. So the executive committee is who hires me, and the board was established by them initially, and then the board has self-selection privileges for replacement. So that is the general structure, but the power is held in the executive committee. I'm a conduit for the things they decide. I can run by
Okay.
their names, but I'm not sure as a low-level Valorant player if that's helpful for you.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. So the way I see it is, it's like it's a marketing arm of Riot, like the LCS is, and for that marketing to generate value, you need players, and those players are making demands, and you are you are bringing those demands to bringing those demands to Riot.
Yeah, absolutely. They're today they're the people. In our eyes, they set where you compete, when you compete, who can compete, and they're the ones providing the funds that pay the people who compete. So when we look and go down the list of the most important stakeholder items for our players and the things that matter to them, Riot's in charge of all of them. And so that's where our focus tends to be on them. We deal with teams frequently, and they are an important player, and we have a support from a lot of people within teams. General managers, coaches, staff, all people who care deeply about leagues and esport and want the scene to work and don't agree with the decisions of their owners. Not dissimilar from the NFL, or I'm sure the NBA, where you've got plenty of people below the C-suite level that are that are compassionate and believe in the product in the right way. So, we've got those folks, and we're working with them as collaborators as well. And we seek the support of teams wherever we can, and appreciate orgs that have reached out and asked how they can be helpful and said, I don't want to hire scabs, and what do you recommend we do? So those folks have all been great. And we're going to keep working with them, but Riot is the power player, and teams know this too. We all know it. In esports, it's no secret, as Slasher pointed out. This is all like the developers are God. It's a space that is not oft considered
Yeah,
because it's such a strange thing.
it's especially shitty when the devs themselves do not have a union internally within Riot, which is another way to most likely get Riot to meet your demands if there was a union for the devs, and then they could collaborate with the Players Association. Then Riot would be forced to basically concede or even come to the table with less bargaining power, I guess, because they currently hold all the cards.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do hold the cards, Let's be real about the post they made. They said we'll kill the league for the season if you don't come and play at some point. And this is a marketing arm for them, right? If it were the NFL, of course the NFL locks out and seasons don't happen. And in my youth, hockey was played less frequently than it was played from lockouts and strikes. These things happen for sure, but Riot has different incentives than a traditional sports league in a lockout situation, because at the end of the day, running the sport is not their core product. The game is their core product, and they have different incentives, and that changes the calculus for how you organize and how you advocate. And it's uncharted territory. It's something that excited me about taking the job, and it also keeps me up at night because there isn't a good labor book on how to deal with somebody who's got this much power.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you, and I hope that Riot listens to the very reasonable demands that you guys are making. I mean, is there anything that you want to say to at least this audience or a broader audience in general, as far as like what watchers, viewers, league enjoyers can do?
Stay tuned. We're going to keep communicating. Our focus the next few days is going to be good faith negotiation, getting into the nitty gritty and coming out the other end with something. But we need that pressure from everybody on the way through. This delay is a space that needs to be filled with people calling for the league to see reason, and that's going to be instrumental. So anybody who can speak out and speak up, and if you have connections to folks in labor, I send them our way. We are checking our DMs as fast as we can. It has been a busy time, but we are committed to getting in there and taking every ounce of help we can get. So that was what I asked. Thank you. And just thanks for covering this and having me on. Appreciate it deeply.
Okay. All right. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you.
All right, Rod, are you there?
Yep.
All right. Do you have any final words on this?
Yeah, you used the worst fucking picture of me. I had the stream paused and I only unpaused it when Philip came on. I look like fucking Doc from Back to the Future. And you got a big Fox News logo behind me. What did you do to me?
I don't know.
You
Why did
ruined
you?
me.
Well, that's what happens when you don't turn on your camera. Okay, you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have a camera with me.
Awful, terrible, terrible. Great. Thank you, Hasan. No, but great job. Thank you for covering it. I think you covering this story does a lot for the wider audience to understand what is happening out there, and people that don't follow League of Legends should support the players in the situation. Truly, look, esports is going through a very tough financial time for everybody, and there is some reason to understand the scenario from the organization's point of view and from Riot's point of view. However, all things considered, the players are the ones that have the least amount of leverage here. They're the ones being fucked over the most, and they deserve the most support from the community. So, good job, Hasan.
All right. Thanks for coming on, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
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 Love you.
Okay. I think the situation looks kind of grim considering how much power Riot has in this situation. Hopefully it will, hopefully it's such a weird prospect because like you're literally at the whims of this gigantic corporation. Bro, news broke that LCS is delayed for 2 weeks for negotiations. Wait, did that just come out? I'm confused. Like literally while we were having this conversation? No, I thought that this was that it's this, right? It's this. They're delaying it, and then they also said no, they said they were going to delay it, and then beyond the 2-week delay, if it continues, they'll just drop it entirely. I see it as one of the first walkouts of esports is a huge moment for gaming in general, bro. Look, do you want me to be fucking honest? Like, I think without any sort of like there's no players unions, players associations have power because they're the fucking workers, okay? They're the ones who generate value. Without the players association, the NBA doesn't exist. Without the players and the NBA doesn't exist. But LCS could potentially be dropped, it seems, by Riot, and not really thought about as much. And given that there's no internal pressure generating value, like the developers themselves doing something, refusing to work or anything like that, or like a developers union also internally pressuring Riot to continue, the Riot to meet the demands, it seems very, very difficult. The value comes from, skin sales. Yes, I understand that. But it's not that they're too easily replaceable. That's not what it is. It's not that they're too easily replaceable. It's that, like, how are you going to walk out of a video game? There's no barrier. You're wrong about that. They are doing that, and you can do that. It's just that, if Riot is seeing LCS as a liability and doesn't think that, like, if Riot sees LCS as a liability and the NA region entirely as, like, bullshit, is just, like, not giving enough, not leading to enough sales in skins and whatnot, I can see them making this decision, like this insane decision. I have a lot of thoughts, none of which Twitter provides room for context for. The one thing I do want to make clear is that I had no intention or interest in participating in the scab broadcast, so at least that is off the table. I think one thing that you could do that Philip did not mention is, if you work in any part of Riot, if you're a broadcaster, if you are in any capacity working for Riot, I mean, this is like a lot to ask of people, considering that they are not a part of the, considering that they're not a part of a union, so there's no, like, real adequate protections. It seems like it would be a big ask, but the one thing that people could do if they're working, if they're working with Riot in any capacity, they could make a big stink about it and apply external pressure. You know what I mean? I think some realistic ways Valorant players to walk out in Solidarity, because NA Valorant is much more profitable to Riot now. Yeah, but I don't think there's a players union for NA Valorant. You're right, though. That is, yes. Yeah, not just players, but also streamers, commentators, etc. Oh, there is one? There's a players association in Valorant? I did not know that. An organization run by America's Valorant pro players, provide counsel and programs. Okay. It's the same as the League one, basically has no power. Players Association is not a union. I know you know, but maybe some chat doesn't. Yeah. The biggest problem is the lack of inherent leverage in esports in comparison to traditional sports. The org still has the actual game to fall back on, while they don't have competitive esports without the players. Sports doesn't have the org without the players. Yeah, that's what I mean. There's no, I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything that, like, is comparable. I can't think of anything that's, like, even remotely comparable, because, like, the dynamics are completely out of whack, where it's just like they have everything. You know what I mean? They hold all the cards. So as a players association in this situation, like all you can do is just basically beg the company to be nice to you. You know what I mean? There's literally nothing. There's nothing you can do in that regard. I'm glad the LCSPA put out a statement like this because it pigeonholes them. What? Right now, my biggest concern is the overwhelming majority vote. Why it was surprising is that it doesn't strike me as the overwhelming majority would actually want the NACL to remain a small thread. A large amount of players in NALCS are specifically because the NACL and talent developments as a whole have been a failure. We had arguments on how players feel threatened by second teams in their org throughout the history of EUNA. Why would it change now? To me, I think NACL was a catalyst for the majority of NA players to try to secure job security for themselves. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. The fuck? Like, wanting job security is not wrong at all. My biggest concern for the last 24 hours has been that the LCSPA agrees to Riot protections without NACL mandate. Riot would outplay them if so, and here's why. If you use NACL demands to negotiate better protections for yourself as LCS players, then leave the NACL in the mud, but get what you wanted. Riot would destroy the LCPA in a very real PR sense. PR-wise, the above tweet solidifies that the LCSPA must follow through with the NACL demands. This thread is pretty inside baseball stuff. I don't think you're going to get the right context and understanding of the league ecosystem. Yeah, I don't really fully get that. What is the? I also don't understand what the alternative is. I don't understand what the alternative is to having like a farming program like this. Cannot back off without NACL being remandated for NA players to develop in or Doom TLDR. I'm highly suspicious on whether the LCSPA is actually acting in NA players' best interest at all, and I hope they cap themselves PR-wise into doing so. Otherwise, the most likely scenario is they back off on the NACL demand in favor of better LCS player protections. Import is they could tie it into challenger and rank in lieu of a farming program. Get players from Korea as an alternative. I think there is, look, I don't know enough about this, but it seems like there's always an opportunity because it's all marketing, right? It's all marketing. This is all marketing. The farm program is marketing. NA, like the LCS in its entirety is marketing. It's supposed to drum up support and get people excited to root for a fucking team, but then also watch League of Legends, a competitive League of Legends, and then turn around and then like purchase skins and play the game, right? Like that's their goal. So if that's the case, NA is a really powerful market for that sort of thing. NA might not have the best talent pool as it stands, or there might have been mismanagement by teams on their farming programs with the money that they got from Riot. But ultimately, it doesn't matter because, these things take time. It's a lot of money. It costs money. But all it would take is for one fucking super solid team to pop off and garner a lot of support. NA is not in the top 3 player races. No, I know. I get that. I understand. There are caps on how many players from other regions you can have, so they can't just have full Chinese, Korean, or EU roster. Yeah, they could just open that up, though, right? And then the only issue would literally be... The only issue in that regard would then literally just be fucking visas. Fans are very aggro against full import teams. Good. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Having a full import team or fans being upset about having a full import team is not necessarily a bad thing because that only shows, as far as I understand, that only shows that people want like NA players in the NA league And the best way to create more NA players is by having a viable farming program. Like, part of the reason why you know, NA is dominant in basketball in comparison to other places, right, is precisely that reason. They have incredible scouting and farming programs. Like, if you got a dude that's like halfway decent in any school playing basketball, they immediately get fucking put into a slot to possibly go to the NCAA. And before that, you didn't even need to go to the NCAA. You could go directly into the league, into the NBA. But you go to a good high school, then you go to the NCAA, and then a couple of years into the NCAA, you go into the NBA, right? Like, that's because there are really good scouting programs, there's really good farming programs, like 5-star back in my day, at least when I played basketball in high school. Like, that was, I think that was one of the initiatives. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of stuff even outside of school that plays a role in this. It's the same for football academies in the EU. Exactly. Yeah, but then we literally won't be NA. Like, me as a watcher would not care to watch. Like, why should we be just worse Korean or Chinese league? Yeah, it seems like if they've gone this far, they may go the full way. No, my point is this. They take players out of their local high school to put them in the nationally ranked schools. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you could absolutely set up a similar structure for league. It's just that it hasn't worked thus far. Yeah, there's a reason why countries in Africa and Eastern Europe don't have as good or dominant domestic teams. Exactly, because they do not have enough money on the infrastructure side to build solid scouting, farming, and training programs early on. America is an incredibly viable market. Like, so many people consume league content, play league here, right? Which is why I'm saying it's shocking to me that more efforts have not been made in creating more dominant space for esports in the United States of America. It's just odd. The difference is the league patches all the time. Game is completely different from one year to the next. NA players can't commit to that because of ping and packet loss. That's why Mark Cuban didn't invest, because it's hard to keep viewers interested when they don't know what the fuck's going on. The feeder team players get paid 2x the Chinese and Korean salaries. Yeah, I understand that. Also, they're in America, so there's that. It's cost of living is significantly more expensive here. So I don't know why the fuck people are like talking about that. Anyway. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to end it here on this note because I'm tired. Okay, and I'll be back tomorrow, obviously. Same time, same place, 11 a.m. And Yeah. I forgot to watch my fucking vlog that finally came out on the second channel. For the record, the Strike vlog came out. Striking in Marvel Studios with Adam Ruins everything. Here it is. 17 minutes long. Came out 8 hours ago. You guys can go check it out. Okay, you guys can go watch it. I will watch it tomorrow. Okay. Is it a vlog or stream highlights? No, it's a vlog with stream highlights in it. Bitch, just watch it. Why are you asking me this question like, oh man, I'm not gonna watch it if it's stream highlights?
America have decided.
Okay. Fucking assholes. Anyway, yeah, but that's it. That's it for today. For the time being. Okay.
Stunning lo-fi introduction starting off.
All right, everybody. Love you all. See you tomorrow. Peace.
All the shadows trickling in has helped people hate. Sunny Los Angeles, California, says Hasan. The starlock to the starlock to the topic just begun. There he is again, Hasan is streaming. Hasan is streaming. There he is again, Hasan is streaming. all these daily streams.